everyone, welcome to another video here at Curated Living with Shayla. Don't forget to like and share the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel as I am getting into the full swing of the holiday season. I am about to put into full gear my Thanksgiving prep as well as all of my Christmas decor. So make sure you subscribe at Curated Living with Shayla so that you don't miss anything as I release more videos in the coming days. So let's get right into this video. And by the way, I don't know if you guys can tell, but today I am definitely in the kitchen, how should I say it? The cooking and the cleaning mode today. So definitely don't pay me any mind today of how I am looking around the kitchen. But as I've said, it's kind of all things Thanksgiving prep at this point. So I'm just trying to get it done. I'm actually a little early this time. It's actually Monday evening before Thanksgiving. And so for me, that's early. Actually, I'm one of those people who, for some reason, I cannot seem to get things prepped days ahead or weeks ahead before Thanksgiving. And so I'm typically one of those people who are prepping the day before or the night before and pulling an all-nighter. And so hopefully this time I won't have to do that because I'm definitely needing my sleep at this point in stage and time in my life. And so pulling an all-nighter is definitely not something that I'm looking to do this year. And so I am definitely trying to get started a little bit early. I would have liked to have started a little bit earlier than Monday evening today. I'm going to be cooking or making my cornbread today. So I'm going to show you that. I did want to kind of introduce what I'm going to be doing. I did go today to Publix and I purchased the turkey breast and all of the ingredients that I need for my Thanksgiving, or I'm sorry, everything I need for the cornbread dressing. And I also had already purchased my ham, I think it was last week. And so I definitely wanted to go ahead now that I have most things that I need and try to get the cornbread dressing out of the way, because typically I think it is pretty much the most time consuming of things that I usually cook outside of if I make collard greens or turnips. I'm actually thinking I may want to make turnips, but I haven't really decided that as of yet. So one thing I did want to do though is just get the cornbread dressing, get that into full prep mode, and then go from there. So this one I'm going to show you a little bit now. I'm just going to go ahead and make the cornbread. And so the cornbread, as you will see, there's really nothing special that has to be done with the cornbread, because remember, this is just the beginning of the prep process for making cornbread dressing. So let's get right into it. Now, so I did want to make it so you can kind of see most of what I'm doing here. As I've said already, there is nothing that I'm going to be really doing that I feel like is really special process or anything like that. What I have done, I have my cornmeal here. I have the Martha White cornmeal here. I put about 4 cups so far. I usually don't measure. I grew up with my mother and my father, who also cooks as well. From time to time, my dad will cook, and then my mother cooks. But my grandmother, who also, or both of my grandmothers, who I learned to make some delicious dishes from both of them. And so as far as this, I just really don't usually measure anything that I put in here. But for kind of your sake and process for what I'll show you in this video, I did kind of measure out the cornmeal, and I've already put about 4 cups. So this is a cup here. So I've already put about 4 cups, depending on how many or how much dressing or how many people you're going to be feeding. You may not need that much, but I like to make a lot of dressing because my family and I, we really love dressing. And if I make too much, what I usually do will just freeze it. So what I'm planning to do is go ahead and get everything made up, get my cornbread made, let it cool, and then I will start to actually to make my cornbread dressing up once I get my cornbread actually shredded or crumbled up well. And then I'm not going to cook it actually probably until the day of Thanksgiving, because it doesn't take that long for it to actually bake. And so cooking it the day of Thanksgiving will be perfectly fine. If you maybe cook it maybe an hour or two before Thanksgiving dinner, or you're going to serve Thanksgiving dinner. So just wanted to kind of share that. But I am going to be making a pretty big pan of cornbread. So I want to make sure I have enough cornmeal here. As I said, I think I put now about 5 cups. I think I'm gonna put one more, as I said, because I have a big aluminum pan and I've already greased the pan with some butter, melted butter. And so I've also lined that pan with some wax paper. So I put the wax paper in the bottom of the pan, and then I lined it with some melted butter so that it does not stick. So now that I have my cornmeal here, I'm going to go ahead and finish adding the rest of my ingredients. As I said, this is Martha White cornmeal here that I have. And now I'm just going to go ahead. I have about 3 eggs here. And I have some brown eggs. I always usually buy brown eggs. That's just kind of a preference thing. I just like that they're cage-free eggs, and so that's a preference, but you can definitely choose what you would like to purchase as far as eggs there. Nothing specific. So I've got my eggs. I have 5 eggs. I'm going to continue cracking those. And then I'm going to pour those right over into my cornmeal. And as I've said, I grew up with parents as well as grandmothers who measured nothing. And so typically I don't measure anything either. It's to the point now where I cook by sight. So everything is pretty much visually. I can pretty much visually sense how much I need to add or to not add. But when it comes to baking, that's a little bit different. So I do tend to measure a bit more with baking, and I will share that as well at some point in future videos. So again, make sure you stay tuned for all of those things. So now I have my cornmeal and I have 5 eggs here. And I have some butter, some melted butter. It is 1 stick of melted butter. Now again, this does not have to be perfect, because again, this is only creating a foundation for our dressing that we're going to be making. So we're not going to be eating this cornbread necessarily for, like, you know, a Sunday dinner and a side of cornbread or a slice of cornbread or anything like that. This is just going to be to actually have a great kind of southern cornbread that we're going to crumble just to make for our cornbread dressing. So again, once you get your eggs in there, your butter, and you mix everything up, and I just added some milk. That is organic milk. I like to buy organic milk, but you can use any kind of milk, as you know. So nothing specific there. And what you're gonna do, I'm not adding a certain amount of milk here. It's just more so, again, visually, that I'm gonna add enough milk to make sure that everything becomes pretty wet here and it mixes well. And so as I mix everything, if I think I need more milk, I'm gonna add more milk. So just gonna mix everything up here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get everything mixed up. I'm definitely gonna now add some more milk to this so that it's not so lumpy and still a little bit dry. And then once I get this done, I'm going to add in, and actually I'll probably just go ahead and do that now. as I'm mixing everything, because it is starting to, as you can see, the cornbread mix here is starting to become more moist. Everything is starting to blend together. And so I'm going to also add in a little bit of canola oil. You can add in a little bit of canola or vegetable oil. Again, preference on what oil you typically have handy around your home. And that's just gonna add a little bit more moisture to your cornbread as you get it mixed up. And also once you have everything mixed and it cools, it's gonna make your cornbread just a bit more moist. So still, I think I'm gonna add a little bit more milk in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my milk added in again. And I will come back right when I have everything moist enough and show you what it looks like. And then right before I'm about to put it into the grease pan that I have. So I will be right back in just a moment. Hey y'all, so I'm back here. I wanted to come back and show you just kind of the consistency of the cornbread that you want your cornbread to be. Again, this cornbread does not have to be perfect because I am just going to be using it to make my cornbread dressing. So now what I do have, I'm going to show you my grease pan. I put some wax paper in here. I've had this pan for years. It's a Teflon pan. It has been used for many holidays now. And so typically, sometimes I'll grease the pan, but things sometimes for some reason tends to get a little stuck at the bottom. So what I started doing is not only greasing the pan with some butter, but I also put some wax paper in there. And then now I'm just going to put my cornbread in here into my pan. And I'm going to let this, I've already preheated my oven actually. And I'm going to just let this cook for probably about 45 minutes to an hour. And so I'm gonna just spread it in the bottom here. Again, it's gonna rise and make cornbread. And actually for this pan, I probably could have put a few more cups of cornmeal, but I'm just gonna go with what I have made now. And so I have this here in the pan, just gonna kind of get it, spread it around just a little bit so that it covers the sides. And again, nothing special with this whole process here. Where I am gonna get really concerned is when I start to combine my ingredients. Again, I don't mix any or don't measure anything, so that's not going to be too much of a complex process either. But I do want to show you generally kind of overall how I typically make my cornbread dressing. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. So again, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. And I've already preheated my oven, so it is ready to go. And what I will also note is you already see I have my celery here and my cream of soups here. I have cream of mushroom, cream of chicken, and cream of celery. And so I do use the soups because this is what I grew up making my dressing with. This was how my grandmother taught me to make cornbread dressing. And everyone always loved it. I remember my aunt years and years ago when my grandmother and my aunt would always come down from the Atlanta area. And she had moved back then, of course, from home for years. But every Thanksgiving she would come back home to my grandmother's home, and they would spend the night before Thanksgiving up for hours, almost an all-nighter. Is kind of like what I used to do or usually do. And they would be up all night cooking the night before Thanksgiving. And so my grandmother always used cream of soups, cream of chicken, cream of mushroom, cream of celery. soups in her cornbread dressing. And my aunt would my aunt would share the stories that all of the people that she would work with back years, like I said, this was years ago, when my aunt was really pretty new in her career, and they would have functions at her job, and she would say, yeah, people were always talking about that dressing I made, and they would ask me how I made that dressing. And so I just really thought about that as I'm getting ready to do this process again this year. And I always think about my grandmother or my grandmothers as I start cooking for the holiday and the Thanksgiving season. And so just wanted to share that with you, but definitely make sure you stay tuned, because this is going to be going in the oven and it's going to cool. So I'll probably be showing you the cornbread, the next steps in the next video. But make sure you stay tuned, because definitely after this video, probably the next one or the next one, I am definitely going to be in the full swing of cooking everything. And I'm going to be also doing some heavy Christmas decorating. So I'm definitely going to be getting my tree up. I'm actually behind on that. But what can I say? I'm still kind of still unboxing. I mean, it was a huge move that we had about almost a year and a half ago. It was June of 2023. And literally, y'all, it was tons of boxes, a good 600 or so boxes. And so I'm pretty exhausted with still with a move like that. And so I have a few boxes that I have remaining to unbox. And so I'm just thankful to be at this point of the unboxing process and to have a little bit of organization going on. I feel like, and at least I'm able to get to most of my Christmas decor, and so at least I'm thankful for that part. And so, but make sure you stay tuned, because I have some other great videos coming out. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this cornbread in the oven, and then I will be back once I get everything baked and cooled, which will probably be in the next video. And then I will show you the process for how I'm going to be making my cornbread dressing. So make sure you stay tuned, and I will see you soon. I have made my cornbread, and it is already set and waiting for the next step in the process. So now what I am doing is I have my hen here. It's just a regular small hen, and I have seasoned it, and I also have some onions that I have there on the bottom, kind of on the bed of the hen here, as you can see. And I added in some butter. I'm going to just sear it off a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and boil my hen so that once it cools, I'm going to add a little bit into my cornbread dressing that I'm going to be making. This is something that I started doing as I watched my grandmother make cornbread dressing every Thanksgiving. And then she just kind of inspired me to do the same. Of course, now that I cook for pretty much every Thanksgiving holiday. And so sometimes I don't add in the hen, just depending on how things are going and how I'm feeling at the time. But I decided I'm going to add in hen, as well as I'm going to be also adding in some chopped or some sausage, some sage sausage into my cornbread dressing. So just getting everything kind of underway. As I said, this is kind of the next thing now that I have my cornbread made and it is sitting. And so I'm going to probably boil the chicken or the hen. Once I get it seared a little bit more, I'm going to add in some water and probably cook it for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I'm going to use that juice or that broth to add into my cornbread dressing once I start to get everything mixed up. But I will show you that later in the process. But I did want to kind of drop in so you can see kind of where I am now in the process. And as I said, just kind of searing off and infusing some of those flavors into my hen right now. And then, like I said, next step in the process is going to be just letting this boil. And it's browned a little bit, as you can see here. So that's a good sign. So yeah, so I'm just gonna brown it or sear it just a little bit on the other side, and then I'm gonna add in my water, and I'm gonna get started with boiling this thing for, like I said, about an hour to an hour and about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I'm gonna let it cool, and then gonna move to the next step in the process, which will be browning my sausage, or cooking my sage sausage, as well as chopping up my vegetables, which is going to be my celery and onions, and then going to move right along into the process at that point. So I will check back in just a moment.